Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to Portimao, the second race of the 2021 Euroformula Open season. It's Ben Evans and Elliot Wood with you as we are just a couple of moments away from the formation lap ahead of this second race of the afternoon. It is the first reverse grid race of the year and indeed of the Euroformula Open's history. The top 6 finishers from race 1 in reverse order, which means it's Enzo Trulli who will line up in pole position, having finished in 6th place in that opening race, which was claimed in dominant fashion by Cameron Das. As looking back down the grid, and it appears if there is a hole where Andres Essner should be in 7th position. Nonetheless, away they go, formation lap, and Elliot, a little bit of a voyage into the unknown here for the Euroformula Open, but one that should give us some great racing.
Yeah, we introduced 3 race weekends last year as a result of the pandemic kind of compressing things. But the first time this year we're introducing reverse grid races. That is Andreas Essner in his Van Amersfoort Racing 1 car in the pit lane. He hasn't got going yet. Now we hope he can start the race. He will likely be doing so from that pit lane position.
So frustrating for him as we take a look at how they line up then. As I said, this followed by the result of race 1. So the front row of the grid is Enzo Trulli and Casper Stevenson. They were first and second in the trophy, Stevenson claiming that. Then Nazim Azman and Rafael Villagomez on row 2. Villagomez opponent from Louis Foster, and then Cameron Das who claimed victory. Andres Essner starts from the pit lane, and then 8th place Josh Mason was in the running for podium earlier on before he spun his chances away. Cameron in 9th, and then it is Vivian Castelli in 10th after a race-long battle she enjoyed with Enzo Scioni, and then the field completed by Zdeněk Chovanec. We have got 90 laps or 35 minutes to look forward to as Enzo Trulli leads the field around, and it was a late decision for Trulli to compete in the Euroformula Open with the Drivex squad this weekend. He gained more places than anybody else in the first race. Now, for race 2, he's got the honour of starting from pole.
Yeah, it's going to be a big challenge for him, but also an exciting one as well. And it's actually, I think, the first time he's ever started from pole, because he didn't top qualify in his Formula 4 UAE campaign. So it may well be the first time he starts from the front of the field in a racing car.
But he is going to have to work very hard for the victory. Casper Stevenson, who shares the front row with him, went very well in the opening race, but Cameron Das took victory in the end from Louis Foster by almost 10 seconds. Foster, who started race 1 from pole, and been quickest in qualifying earlier on today, looked somewhat crestfallen on the podium, so he will be hoping for reversal of fortunes this time around. Nazim Azman and Rafael Villagomez both showed good pace as well. I think, Elliot, the question is going to be, can the drivers on row 3, who showed such good pace in the first race, use that to actually carve their way through the pack in this one?
Yeah, because obviously...
Oh, into the pit lane, and that is Louis Foster who darts into the pit lane.
Very interesting. Now, is he going to go for a pit lane start, or has he got an issue that the team going to have to work on? Because there are obviously what you can do to the car in these moments. And we've got a very nice camera following the car. I'd much rather see
Tower racing team, because given the duration of the race, if it's a setup change, that is a very, very bold call.
Yeah, incredibly bold, and starting from the back here won't be an advantage in any circumstance.
So we've got Andres Essner and now Louis Foster in the pit lane. We've got the white car of Enzo Trulli in pole position, alongside him the black and orange car of Casper Stevenson, and then row 2 we have got the black car of Nazim Azman and Rafael Villagomez in a similarly livery machine, black and orange for him, as the green flag is waved at the rear of the field. The revs start to rise as the lights go out and we're racing, and it's a very, very good start from the car of Nazim Azman, I think it is, who's going to lead into the first corner. He gets the jump from row 2. Brilliant start from him. Trulli slots through into second position as Cameron Das from 5th looks to try and gain a little bit of ground as he looks to dart through to the inside of Rafael Villagomez, as already Enzo Trulli trying to put a little bit of pressure on Nazim Azman, as Trulli, that move leaves him under threat from Casper Stevenson. The black and orange car of Stevenson draws alongside and goes in front. Trulli as they head down towards the hairpin, as Villagomez also looks to try and make ground. Trulli's going to be hung out to dry around the outside. He's surely going to lose 3rd position, as accelerating alongside is the Mexican Villagomez, as they head into, though it's going to be a right-hander, so Trulli, oh, he doesn't quite hold on as Villagomez goes around the outside.
Yeah, and there's no sign of Louis Foster at the back of that queue or Andreas Esno, so it doesn't look like either of those drivers have started the race, but we've got a big battle going on in the top 10, pretty much at every position. Das is eyeing up Trulli now. Looked to the inside before Trulli cut across and defended the line going into this final up and down sector of the lap.
And it's the white car of Josh Mason as well. There is Mason just in behind Cameron Das. So a thrilling first few corners of the race, as at the front of the field we have got the pack just beginning to stretch a little bit. It's really the fight for third position, which is very, very tight. There is Louis Foster, and clearly some issues with the front left corner as the car, as Cameron Das jinks out, looks to try and challenge. Also a good start there for Zdeněk Chovanec. He is in the early mix, but it's Nazim Aslam who leads the way from Casper Stevenson. Enzo Trulli darts out the bubble, looks to the inside of Rafael Villagomez, and is going to try for the move here for third position. Trulli to the inside, and he goes for it. Can he hold it tight? Slithers a little bit wide. Oh, and Cameron Das is going to go for fourth. The all-black car of Das darts to the inside. Beautifully opportunistic driving there from the American winner of race one. He goes fourth. Mexican loses 2 places in as many corners as Das now renews his challenge on Enzo Trulli.
Yeah, great move by Cameron Das, as Josh Mason's going to try to go around the outside of Rafael Villagomez. He's not going to be able to do it there. We saw Enzo Trulli coming down the pit straight. He's running slightly less wing, it looks like, at the rear, which would have given him a straight line speed advantage and enabled him to make that pass. Mason trying again on the outside of Villagomez. I think he's probably going to try it almost every corner this lap, although his teammate Zdeněk Chovanec just dived down the inside at that hairpin. He's taken the position, and obviously he didn't have a great race one, so he's got a lot to fight for here.
Yeah, that was a beautiful move again, as Das is looking to challenge Trulli. As we go to the replay of the start, and there you see the lightning getaway from Nazim Asman, who just rocketed clear and was able to split the front row as they headed down towards turn one. And Trulli defending hard, possibly a little bit too hard. It left him vulnerable to challenge from Casper Stevenson behind. Fortunately, all made it through more or less cleanly as we pick up the race leader. There he comes down the hill. Stevenson, Trulli, and then Cameron Das. That move he went for clearly didn't pay off. He's a little bit adrift of the Italian. Now, one question going back a lap ago was whether or not Trulli gained an advantage running wide through turn one, because he had all 4 wheels out over the curb. As meanwhile, Josh Mason challenges teammate Chovanec to the inside line into the first corner. He should go through here. Chovanec having none of it, tries to slam the door, runs out very, very wide, and keeps Josh Mason behind him as a result.
Yeah, both of them exceeded track limits there in that battle. There's already almost a second gap between our top 2 cars, and Andreas Esner did start the race. We saw him on the replay there at the start at the end of pit lane, so he has joined the action, but he is 23 seconds behind at the moment, as that was Villagomez, it looks like, locking up behind Cameron Das in 4th place, who currently has the fastest lap of the race despite being involved in all these battles.
And Chovanec all over the road, fending off Josh Mason, and what that's serving to do as well, as Chovanec slows that group down, is it means that Mason's got an awful lot of ground now to make up if he wants to get into the podium fight. The real battle, though, a little bit further ahead, is the one between Enzo Trulli and Cameron Das. The American setting the fastest lap last time around as well. Now, is that going to allow Nazim Asman to break clear and take Casper Stevenson with him, as Das on the tail of Trulli? But as you spotted, Elliot, because Trulli's running slightly lower rear wing, possibly, although Cameron Das seems to have a little bit of a lower one as well, it might just give Trulli the legs along the straight as they begin that run downhill. And all the while, of course, our race leader, Nazim Asman, he's had a good lap this time, and he has built out a buffer. That looks like it's going to be fastest lap of the race. Well, it shuffles down through the order, about 1.3 seconds, as Das in the tow here behind Enzo Trulli. Is he going to be close enough to look for a move into turn one? Not quite. Again, they both run out very, very wide. Neither really gains the advantage.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to go a bit wide at that first corner, because you're coming down here, you're carrying a lot of speed. You see Chovanec queuing the cars up behind him. That's his teammate Josh Mason and Enzo Sconti in 7th and 8th. And it does look like there's an overtake ahead. We're seeing Cameron Das at the bottom of the picture. Chovanec being eyed up by Mason going into the hairpin. Mason's going to stay behind. Chovanec locks up the left rear tyre, but keeps the position.
and they've got Enzo Scionti just in behind them as well. And this is ferocious dicing, but so far it's all been hard but fair. Now this is interesting from Cameron Das, because he's at the moment content almost to bide his time behind Trulli, try and force the error from Enzo Trulli rather than really force the manoeuvre, and that is just allowing the leaders, Asman and Stevenson, just to try and build a little bit of a buffer. Although, as you can see, Casper Stevenson, he's not really pulling clear of Enzo Trulli that much. It's more Nazim Asman, but that gap has fluctuated during the course of the lap. So this has got all the makings of an absolutely superb race.
Yeah, there's an extra consideration here for the drivers who have started further back in this reverse grid. You see a beautiful shot of the undulation of this pit straight. It's the fastest lap goes to Casper Stevenson, and then Rafael Villa-Gomez clearly benefiting from the slipstream. Is that the driver who gains the most places in their starting position gains an extra 2 points, but because we had two drivers start from the pit lane, I don't think we've got clarification quite in the regulations of what that means in these circumstances. As we can see, the positions gained already. Chovanec has made 6, so he's probably the candidate for those points at the moment. Cameron Das has only made 2. He's behind Enzo Trulli, as we can see on camera. Trulli's looking in his mirrors. He knows Das is a threat.
Right, now the other factor, of course, is that the fastest lap in this race sets the grid for the third and final race tomorrow. Now I wonder if that is the motivation for Andres Essner starting from the pit lane, because he's just set fastest lap and he's going to have more or less clear air for the first at least 5 or 6 laps of this race with which to set a time.
Yeah, and he only needs to overtake one more car to get into the points positions as well. Admittedly, that's a 14-second gap. Cameron Das looking down the inside. The motorpark drivers are certainly taking tighter lines into a lot of these corners, particularly the downhill ones, where you do need a lot of confidence. And that's allowed him to close right onto the rear of Enzo Trulli, coming through a slightly tighter section of this lap that's just as undulating as the rest of it. A lot of blind apexes that are really hard to nail for drivers. And
Cameron has just very slight corrections of the wheel, but he really needs to make this move sooner rather than later. Not so much, I think, to worry about Casper Stevenson, because he'll be on him in no time, but more actually the race leader Nazim Asman, because as the old adage goes, it's one thing to catch the car in front, it's another to pass it, and that is what Cameron Das is looking to do now as he draws alongside Enzo Trulli. Trulli is passed in a straight line by Cameron Das, who glides through, sets the fastest lap of the race to boot, and is now released into third place.
Yeah, he changed his line halfway through the final corner to get higher exit speed, it looked like. So he was already right on Enzo's rear wing as they were coming onto the pit straight, and that enabled him to come alongside straight away. And Rafael Villa-Gomez hasn't got ahead of Trulli, even though our timing screens suggest as such. Trulli should still have the pace to stay with Das here. Das is already closing onto Casper Stevenson here. Now, this is a reverse grid race, but we can't rule out Cameron Das doing the double already.
Absolutely not. I think the shuffling of the timing screens to show how people have moved since the start of the race is already, we have got Cameron Das right up with Casper Stevenson. Here's another look at Mason and Chovanec, and Zdeněk Chovanec is, one could argue, cruising towards a penalty here because he has run wide several times, and that was fairly robust defence from the Venezuelan, really squeezing out Josh Mason.
Somehow they avoided contact there despite getting very close, a little bit of squirreling at the rear end of the car. Cameron Das only 1.5 seconds off the lead in this race now, so he is already right on the rear of Casper Stevenson, eyeing him up, coming into the final few corners. He could quite easily be coming out this final corner right on the rear wing of the driver.
And again, he has changed his line mid-corner exactly as you spotted last time, Elliot, and with the same effect, he draws alongside Casper Stevenson. This is really smart driving from Cameron Das as he is alongside Stevenson, and he should be able to pick his way past the Van Amersfoort Racing driver. Indeed he does. Identical move, 2 laps in succession, and elevates Cameron Das up into second place. And he's only got about a second or so now to chase down our race leader, Nazim Asman.
Yeah, brilliantly strategic race he's driving so far. And we're seeing some lovely shots of the cars coming through there. They've got to make sure they don't go over that curb, neither some of these other curbs, so they stay within the track limits of this circuit, although obviously it's very hard at corners where you can't quite see the apex as well. Das is only 1.1 seconds off the lead now, so he closed in, I think, 0.5 seconds on the previous lap. It could be within 2 laps we're seeing him in the lead of this race.
Now we've lost, unfortunately, Zdeněk Čověnák somewhere. He's showing as a lap down. We last saw him chopping across the bows of double R teammate Josh Mason rather, and as a result, Čověnák has hit trouble. Josh Mason is up to 6th, but with a fair bit of ground to close up to this fight for what's really going to be for 3rd position now, headed by Casper Stevenson with Enzo Trulli right up behind him. There they are. They've got Rafael Villagomez in with them, and then we've got Cameron Das, who is already taking a heap of time under the race leader Nazim Azman over the course of this lap.
Yeah, Das has waited a long time for his first win, and he's going to probably wait the shortest time in Euroformula history to get the second one because of how close these first 2 races of the weekend have been to each other. We've seen the drivers go through the final few corners of the lap. We're going to see the gap. It's 8 tenths now between the tops of cars, but Das is clearly close enough to really tuck into that slipstream and get closer. Enzo Trulli looking very race hungry as well, so he'll be wanting to take another position as well from Casper Stevenson in 3rd place. And of course, Enzo started this race at the very front of the field. He's dropped down 3 positions.
So it's the white car there of Enzo Trulli. He and Casper Stevenson are battling for rookie trophy honours as well, plus 3rd place on the overall race podium. They have got Rafael Villagomez just in behind them. There is the Mexican, car 8, the black and orange Van Amersfoort racing car, who finished 3rd in race 1. So they've all got plenty to dice for here. Then there's quite a big gap back to Josh Mason, who we can barely see in the background, as Cameron Das. Well, this is really impressive because he's taken a good 0.4 of a second out of Nazim Azman over the course of the past lap. He's got plenty of laps to play with it. As I say, it's a 19-lap or 35-minute race, so he may well, though, be trying to get onto his tail and make that move done as quickly as possible, because the longer you spend behind the car in front, the more you get mesmerised by what that driver is doing, and therefore the harder it can be to pass.
Yeah, and we just had timing show Čověnák jump back up the order and Rafael Villagomez go a lap down. So potentially, because we can't see him on track right now, Čověnák may not be a lap down. But as you said earlier, for drivers who are further down the order right now, there is an advantage in getting some clean air, posting the fastest lap of the race, because that will put you on pole for tomorrow.
Yeah,
there's a driver coming out the pits.
And that is Louis Foster, who is choosing possibly the most inopportune moment to join the track. And I think the team have said so on the radio, is just feed yourself back in. So he is clearly going out with an eye towards getting fastest lap and pole position for tomorrow's race.
Now, I would have expected him to have sped up by now.
I think he is clearly letting the entire field go through first, which is a very gentlemanly thing to do. But quite whether or not race control have got the same view of a car that's almost stationary on the way towards turn 1, we'll see.
Well, we did see it quite a bit in Formula 1 qualifying and free practice. And of course, Euroformula is supporting Formula 1 this weekend for the first time since the 2008 European Grand Prix, I believe. We're going back to the battle at the front, and it is a battle now because Cameron Das is all over the rear of Nazim Azman. He can't ignore him in his mirrors right now. In fact, we actually saw him going over the crest there, looking into his right mirror, seeing which way Das would choose if he was going to go for an overtake. And he's got tighter into that corner again. He's done this several laps now. I think he's feinting a move, scaring the driver ahead as Azman has a little slide exiting that corner, and he's just putting the driver in front under even more pressure.
He really is, and this is a move, almost this is 3rd of a lap in the planning, because it's now as they begin the wind downhill where we'll see if Cameron Das takes that slightly alternate line that gives him a little bit more in the way of exit speed to draw alongside Nazim Azman as they head along the start and finish straight. He's going to be coming from a bit further back this time around, but let's see what he does. That's a bit more conventional from Cameron Das, and he's just in that turbulent air pocket, isn't he, behind Nazim Azman, whereas that a little bit harder to really cut through it. But superb fight for the lead of the race as they head through towards the first corner, and well, one cars tomorrow, if they don't put a show like this, I think it's very much a weekend where Formula 1 supported the Euroformula Open rather than the other way round, as they come up over the crest on towards the hairpin. Now, is Das close enough? He seemed to be in the wheel tracks of Azman on that camera angle. He's about a car length back as they run down towards the hairpin. Operating down through the gears, no way through. But it really does feel like a cat toying with a mouse here at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Das is clearly taking all of the factors into consideration. He's seeing where Azman is weaker in front, where he's obviously stronger behind, And also looking at the weather forecast, the wind speed. So because of this undulation, the wind is going to have more of an impact at certain corners and down certain straights than elsewhere. So he may realise that the best place to overtake is where you're going to get a stronger tailwind. He feints that move again. That's the 4th lap in a row he has done that. We're seeing the margin he's been closing in on Nazem Azman over these last 4 laps. So half a second, 2 laps in a row. Then once he's on the rear of Azman, he can't make too many gains because otherwise he'd literally be stuck to the rear of his car. I think he's going to get the move done at the end of this lap.
Well, he's got the best part of 10 laps to play with here, but he's a little bit closer than he was a lap ago. And it's really how close can he stay to Azman this time around, because Nazem Azman seems to go very well through this final turn, and that's been repeated once more. But here comes Das. He's going to be in the slipstream certainly, but he's going to have to do his business, I would venture, on the brakes into turn 1. The camera angle foreshortens it somewhat as they head towards the first corner and out of the bubble burst Cameron Das, and he's going to go for it, and that's a really nicely done move from Cameron Das. I'm somewhat surprised though that Nazem Azman didn't try to defend that, because you could see it coming a mile off, quite literally given the length of the straight, as Das goes through and takes the lead.
Yeah, what Azman should have done was taken the inside line at the very start of that straight, because as soon as he was stuck on the outside, he was going to get washed out at the entry of that corner. So Das basically had the move done as soon as he was alongside. We're now focusing on the battle behind. That's Casper Stevenson in 3rd place. He's still got Enzo Trulli chasing him hard. Trulli, who lost several places early on, but he hasn't actually lost pace with the top cars. We've been focusing on this battle, but this lead battle hasn't really pulled away from 3rd place too much. No,
you wondered just how hard Azman worked his tyres keeping the lead. But there you see it, Cameron Das came out, and I'm with you, Elliot, that there was certainly an opportunity there for Azman to have covered the inside line, force Cameron Das to take the outside line, and if you're Azman, hoping that Das would get onto the marbles and slither out wide.
And here's, it looks like Andreas Essner in the pits, number 16, Van Amersfoort. He's having all 4 of his tyres changed. Looks like a used pair they're putting on. So quite likely still going for fastest lap. And to be fair, he did start this race on lap 1, unlike Foster, so he has got the lower fuel load that everyone else has, whereas Foster has got, well, basically 8 laps more fuel because he's 8 laps down.
Fastest lap though, it's all the moot points at the moment. It's Cameron Das who might be on course to do the triple here, as it's a good run for Enzo Trulli coming out of the final turn, and he's certainly going to be within attacking distance here of Casper Stevenson. Stevenson knows, you can see him just checking his mirror, waiting for that white car to dart to the inside. Trulli thinks better of it on that occasion, so they follow through behind each other. Both run wide, neither gains an advantage on the brakes then into turn 2, setting up for the little run towards the hairpin. Casper Stevens all runs, well, so does Trulli. They're really shadow boxing each other, and you just wonder kind of tactically here, Elliot, if Enzo Trulli needs to just start doing something a bit different, alternating his line a little bit, just showing himself to Casper Stevenson where Stevenson wouldn't expect to see him, trying to flush out the errors. Yeah,
I think that's ideally what they want to do, but as we've seen with Cameron Das, brilliant race strategy, but Cameron has done 57 races in Euroformula already. This is the first car racing season for Trulli and the second for Stevenson. Foster is back in the pit, potentially with a race-ending issue now. They're going to change the tyres again, so they're going for fastest lap, I think. But if you're coming in and out the pits, you're not going to get into a rhythm, and you're going to have to go put a heat cycle into that tyre and then your next set of tyres, and that's going to, count down the clock. So you may as well stay out and get some clean air, as Trulli is all over the rear of Casper Stevenson now in the middle of the sector, gets the rear end very loose coming over that crest, so he knows he can overtake now. He's just seeing the effects of the dirty air behind. Clearly the faster car right now.
And the real frustration here for Enzo Trulli is he caught Casper Stevenson exactly where he didn't want to catch him, had to lose a little bit of ground when he comes out of the final turn. Now, is he going to close in the tow along the start and finish straight? He's about 6 car lengths back as they cross the start and finish line. Cameron Das sets another fastest lap of the race, and this time Trulli nowhere near close enough to Stevenson to challenge into the first corner.
Yeah, so Trulli just simply doesn't have the experience to drive the car ahead of him. Now that sounds a bit weird, but you play mind games, you try and force a driver ahead to take certain lines by positioning your car in certain places. But because Trulli has only spent a few days in a Euroformula car in total, at this kind of level of machinery, he won't have the expertise to know where drivers are scared in the mirrors and that kind of stuff. And obviously Algarve is a very, very difficult circuit.
Yeah, so at this stage of the season where some of the drivers aren't fully ahead of the car, and that means they're just thinking a little bit more about getting the car on the limit and staying there rather than playing fully tactically more pit stops. That's Philip Caminara's in as well. And yes, this fastest lap for the grid tomorrow approach is leading some interesting race strategies, isn't it, in the lower point part of the pit?
Yeah, probably the most pit stops we've seen since the famous 2009 Po Grand Prix, and that's because the weather is changing. We had rain, we had dry, we had a lot of alternate strategies going on then, but in this case it is purely for fastest lap. Now, some people say it's controversial when you add these kinds of things, but it's clearly adding a strategic element to the race, so it's great to see that we are getting that. My only worry right now, though, is if several drivers go for that, they're going to be very spaced out, and we're not going to get as much action.
Well, it's also that because they can drop 3 scores, there isn't a massive disincentive to roll the dice at least once and try this, as Trulli is definitely closing on Casper Stevenson. He's within a car length or so as they head down into the braking zone. But Casper Stevenson, we talked a lot about Enzo Trulli. Casper Stevenson is doing a really, really fine job here in 3rd place. He's looking in his mirrors when he needs to, but he's utterly unflustered. He's not put a wheel wrong, and he's making Trulli do all the hard work in this fight for 3rd. Some of the other battles we saw, particularly in race 1, you saw some of the drivers taking very defensive lines, which slowed themselves and the cars behind them down, whereas Stevenson is just sticking to the racing line and kind of just letting Trulli bring what he thinks he can.
Yeah, and Casper had a brilliant year in British Formula 4 last year, which is a great learning ground for drivers coming up to this level of single-seater racing. So applying everything he learned from there, and he did Ginetta Junior as well, so lots of experience. You can see the gravel being brought onto the exit of that corner, so that's going to make it very difficult for drivers to draw alongside after that crest, because you don't know how grippy the track is. Trulli had a little bite of the steering there, and that's actually cost him about a car length or two to Stevenson.
You do wonder, because Enzo Trulli has spent so long in dirty air in this race, and he's just possibly got past the peak of those Michelin tyres compared to Stevenson, who's not really had dirty air to the same extent. The other gap to watch here, of course, is Casper Stevenson and chasing down the Crypto Tower racing car of Nazim Azman in the battle for 2nd and 3rd, because the gap between the pair of them is only about 1.5 seconds, and there's still enough time left in this race for that to be whittled down and the fight for 2nd to come alive.
Yeah, and we've got a big fight going on further back as well for 5th place. These top 4 cars have pulled away by a huge amount, and obviously we've had a few pit stops as well, but certainly there's a pace differential between 4th and 5th at the moment. Trulli's learning a lot by staying behind Casper Stevenson here. Obviously he probably wants to be behind a driver with even more racing experience, but by staying behind Stevenson he can see where the Van Amersfoort racing car is strong, where Stevenson personally strong, and he can feed that information to his team and tell them, exactly where they're doing well. And Zdeněk Chovanec, who is several laps down, at least 1 lap down, because he's had a pit stop, we believe. Enzo Sconti in 8th place, he's 7th. No, so he's still on the lead lap. Obviously, we showed him a lap down at the start of the race, so possibly a timing error there.
Yeah, I think the transponder went missing. So this is the fight for 7th and 8th between Chovanec and Sconti. It is also the fight for 3rd in the Rookie Trophy as well, which is currently claimed by Zdeněk Chovanec. And they've got Josh Mason up the road ahead of them, and then the final 2 points playing places are Vivian Castelli, and then it is Philip Caminara's in 10th place, with Esmond Foster having arguably had races to forget, but we'll see where they shake out in terms of the fastest lap equation. And this has been a very solid day so far for Enzo Sconti, another driver who confirmed their entry into the championship quite late in the day. Relatively inexperienced, but he's driven with great maturity. He's been in the thick of the action in both races, but again hasn't overstepped the line.
Yeah, building a lot of crucial experience too. You can take risks later in the season once you build out that experience. And you see on his car the FA Racing logo, which is also present on Trulli's car, I think, as part of the association with the Trivex team. And that is FA standing for Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso, who's racing this weekend at Algarve. So maybe he can learn some of the tricks from the younger drivers while they're on track, because they're probably in more representative conditions now for the Grand Prix tomorrow than Formula 1 has had with their qualifying times. So there's quite a lot to learn.
Certainly is, as Louis Foster sets the fastest lap of the race. So that roll of the dice is possibly coming good for Louis Foster. 9 laps down, but quite, as things stand, likely to start from pole position tomorrow. For Cameron Dass, however, he is looking set, possibly, to make it 2 from 2. He's got 3-second advantage now over Nazim Azman, and is exactly as he was in race 1, looking very unflustered, very unhurried, really smooth, nice poise of the Team Motor Park entry from Cameron Dass as he begins to wind on downhill. Another lap about to be completed here in Portimao, getting towards the latter stages of the race. Behind the gap in the fight for second, third and fourth is remaining relatively static, in that Azman's got about 1.5 seconds advantage over Casper Stevenson, who's just able to hold Enzo Trulli at arm's length. 8 or 9 tenths it's been for the past couple of laps.
Yeah, they're doing a very consistent job in those positions. Looking at the pit stops and how they're playing out, obviously Foster has the fastest lap now, but we do have a limit on how many tyres you can use in a weekend, and so if drivers are using multiple sets of tyres in this race, inevitably they're going to have to carry at least one of those sets into tomorrow's race as well to start the race on. So they don't want to put too many laps on those tyres if they know they're going to have to do a full race distance on them tomorrow.
Well, the thing that I certainly didn't think about until this race was, of course, because it's the first race of the year, they've got 20 tyres available to them rather than 16, which possibly just gives it a little bit less jeopardy to play with these strategic approaches for the fastest lap in this race that we'll see later in the season.
Yeah, it looks like the battle for 7th place is still raging on between Chovanec and Sionti. At the back, you can actually see them going past there. 2 different views on the cars, and there is Rafael Villagomez, currently in 5th place, so he is several seconds behind Enzo Trulli, just doing his own job there, 8 seconds behind. That's conceivably close enough to you know, pick up a position in these remaining laps, but equally 5th place is a good points for him, because obviously he stood on the podium in race 1, so very impressive debut weekend, well, start of the season for Villagomez.
The weekend is far from over, because we've still got that race to look forward to tomorrow morning, as across the line comes Cameron Dass. His lead over Nazim Azman stable at pretty much exactly 3 seconds, and then Casper Stevenson and Enzo Trulli, just 0.7 of a second or so between the pair of them. But after that sustained pressure a few laps ago from Trulli, that seems to have settled down. Now here in 6th position is Josh Mason, and you do wonder if he will have some words with his teammates Ednet Chovanec later, because the intensity of their battle in the opening laps has really taken away any opportunity for Josh Mason to get himself involved in that fight for the podium, despite having really great pace.
Yeah, he did a very good job in race 1, and then went off the track and lost the potential he had there. And same here, started off the race with incredibly strong pace, but the result isn't going his way at the moment. Foster still has the fastest lap. Now, Cameron Dass has extended his lead, so he's clearly still pushing, 3.17 seconds ahead of Nazim Azman, but he wants to ideally start from the front tomorrow if he wants a triple win, so I think maybe he's going to back off for a few laps, and when the fuel is very low, he's going to go for fastest lap again.
Well, I imagine we are only 2 or 3 laps away from the end of the race, as here is the race leader, as he's picking his way through. The fuel load will certainly be dropping down fairly rapidly in that Team Motor Park car as he swings through the final turn, accelerating uphill slightly onto kind of the plateau where the pit lane is, and then in to start another lap, and just eking out another couple of tenths of a second or so on this last lap. The fight for 3rd and 4th remains much as it was, which is Enzo Trulli hounds Casper Stevenson, but Stevenson sticking to his guns as we are into the final lap of the race, and Enzo Trulli really rapidly running out of time to try and challenge for the podium. For Cameron Dass, well, it's been a long time coming for that first victory. It looks like the second one is very likely, barring final lap disaster.
Yeah, he's done a brilliant job in this race, an incredibly tactical performance to pick his way up the order, showing all the experience he's got and more. And we're seeing the battle for 7th place between Chovanec and Sconti raging on. They've traded positions at least once a lap over the last 3 or 4 laps. But we are following our leader. He spits up some gravel coming over the crest there. He's going into the final corners of this race. A brilliant day for him. 2 wins out of 2, it looks like it's going to be like.
Well, the question mark is whether he's done enough on this last lap to snatch the fastest lap of the race as well. I'm sure he'll have got the instruction from the team on the radio to treat this one like a qualifying lap. Obviously with the proviso, don't push too hard that you end the race on the gravel rather than on the top step of the rostrum. But as he plunges downhill, it's been a really well-judged performance this from Cameron Dass, because he had to fight his way through the traffic. He made his time. He made 3 absolutely perfect passes to climb up through the field. As he comes down to the final turn, the checkered flag does go out now to take Cameron Dass. I think he caught them a little bit by surprise. So Dass takes the win. Nazim Azman into second place, and Casper Stevenson a superb third. A rookie trophy honours to him from Enzo Trulli, with Rafael Villagomez rounding out the top 5. And it would appear as if Dass didn't set the fast lap of the race last time round, so he will just have to content himself with a superb drive up from 6th position to make it 2 from 2 thus far this year.
Yeah, and in Euroformula, a lot of the best drives we've seen in the past have been dominant drives from pole, you know, lights to flag, leading the field, almost like he did in race 1. We rarely see drivers actually coming up the order, being very tactical and earning a win that way.
Yeah, they were really, really impressive passes, weren't they? Particularly the 2 where he altered his line through the final curve, clearly knew exactly what he wanted to do. And then likewise the pass for the win. He had been toying with Azman for a couple of laps and converted exactly when he needed to. So the reverse grid format, we thought it was going to give us some entertaining racing, and it's certainly done that.
Yeah, we're going to go racing again tomorrow. We haven't completed it yet, so, and obviously we'll be trialling the fastest lap setting grid tomorrow as well. We're interested to see how the point standings play out. Obviously Cameron Dass will be at the top now, 2 wins. Villagomez was on the podium, and now he's picked up another good haul of points again. But obviously Louis Foster was in 11th place outside the points, Esner outside the points as well. So they're probably going to drop a few places down the standings.
They are. As just a reminder, tomorrow's race, we get underway at 12:15 tomorrow. That's local time in Portugal, and the time in the UK. You need to move it an hour forwards if you're watching us from the rest of Europe, as that promises to be another very entertaining encounter. For now though, Cameron Dass into pit lane, into Parc Ferme, and parking in front of the number 1 plate for the 2nd time this afternoon. He rolls to a halt. I'm sure that Team Motor Park will be over to congratulate him very, very quickly. As 2nd place, Nazim Azman, 3rd place then to Casper Stevenson. Cam Dass, he thoroughly enjoyed that as he hops out of the cockpit.
Yeah, great drive by all 3 of them. 3 different countries on the podium, 3 different continents on the podium, and I think 3 different teams as well.
So he is whisked off, I guess, for weigh-in. So, cars all to a halt, and I wonder how Nazim Azman will feel about that race, because he was leading for a while, and clearly a sore thumb there for Casper Stevenson as a result of his afternoon's work. Here is a look then at the final classification, with victory for Cam Dass, Nazim Azman in 2nd position, Casper Stevenson 3rd, and rookie trophy winner from Enzo Trulli in 4th, Rafael Villagomez in 5th, Joss Mason in 6th, Enzo Scionti claims 3rd on the rookie trophy podium and finishes ahead of Zdenek Chovanec, with Vivian Castelli in 9th from Philip Caminaras, rounding out the top 10. Caminaras, one of a handful of drivers to hit in mid-race. Andreas Esner in 11th. Louis Foster, officially classified as a non-finisher, but he did set the fastest lap of the race as a result of his multiple pit stop strategies. It's another chance to enjoy Dass in full flight, and well, he can't have asked for much more from his afternoon's work. 2 victories from 2 races in front of the Formula 1 paddock. So a very happy Cam Dass hops out of the car. The drivers just rehydrating before they will head on up to the rostrum. And well, tomorrow's race, of course, Elliot, they've got the challenge of they are straight into the race. No qualifying session tomorrow morning, just the pit lane open, 1 lap to the grid, any last-moment adjustments, and then they're off.
Yeah, it's going to be incredibly difficult for them. In the Dallara 320, you do have to change the setup as the track evolves. It is a car very sensitive to those kinds of changes in how much rubber's down, surface temperature, all those kind of elements. And sticking the Euroformula logo back onto his overalls there, doing a very good job of it. You know, Euroformula logo is a very nice logo, I think.
Certainly is. And, well, 3 drivers who seem pretty happy with the late afternoon's work as they debrief with team members before heading up towards the rostrum. Of course, from Portimao this weekend, in a fortnight's time, we're at Paul Ricard in the south of France before heading on to Spa at the end of June, Hungaroring in the middle of July, then off to Imola at the end of the same month, into the summer holidays, Red Bull Ring in mid-September. A fortnight later, it's on to the Cathedral of Speed in Monza, and then Barcelona at the end of October. And once more, Euroformula Open, an absolutely blockbuster calendar for the 2021 season. They're not racing at Formula 1 weekends, they are racing at Formula 1 circuits.
The first rookie.
Yeah, and I think this is Cameron Dass's
Casper
8th
Stevenson
career podium
of
as the
Great
drivers
Britain.
get summoned on, and that includes the Rookie Trophy winner, of course.
Congratulations.
Casper Stevenson,
Well done.
third place.
Rookie trophy and
To
third
Casper
place. Look
Stevenson
at how many
in
pots he's got
second
on his step of the rostrum now, and he'll need more than 2 arms to carry all of those back to the Lam Sport Racing pit as
Well
runner-up.
done to
Then
Nazim. And
for
our winner,
Nazim
the
Asman,
second
good
winner
performance from
again
the Crypto
today,
Tower driver.
is
And Nazim
Cameron
Asman has had
Daz
green hair for the
of
last
the
few weeks,
USA.
so with his hat on, we don't quite get to the chance to see his hair.
It was green. We had a brief shot
And
as
team representative
Cameron Dass, he knows where to go now.
is
Second time this
Benjamin
weekend
Froland
for
of
Team Motor Park and
Crypto
Cameron Dass.
Tower.
Victory in the Euroformula Open.
And now the national anthem of the USA. Well done to Cameron Daz, 2 out of 2. If you'd like to raise the trophy,
salutes
Cameron, please.
Cam Dass, double winner
Well
this
done,
afternoon in
congratulations.
Portimao in the
And
Euroformula Open.
congratulations too, of
See
course,
whether they make merry with
to
the bubbly.
Nazim
Try and
Asman,
find a dry
if you'd like to raise
cleaner
your trophy,
in Portimao
and
this
to
time
your
on Saturday
team,
evening.
Crypto Tower Racing
But
Team,
certainly
represented
plenty
by
to celebrate for Das
Benjamin
today, but
Froland.
likewise
Well done.
for both Nazim
And
Asman
also, of
and
course,
Casper
to Casper
Stevenson. They've
Stevenson
all had
in third
very
place
strong
and
starts
winning
to the
rookie.
Euroformula Open
Well
season.
done, gentlemen.
From our
Congratulations.
opening brace of races, we know that we are
And
set
now it's
for
time
an
to celebrate
intriguing year. Will Cam Dass be
with
a runaway top contender?
Bollicina.
Will others peg him back tomorrow? We'll find out as the drivers celebrate with the champagne on the rostrum. We will be back tomorrow round about 12:10 or thereabouts to begin the build-up to the third and final race of the weekend. Today it has been Team Motor Park and Cam Dass, 2 victories for the American, 2 very entertaining races for us to enjoy. We'll look forward to more tomorrow. Until then, from Elliot Wood and Ben Evans, everybody in Portimao, it's goodbye.